King Midas received exactly what he asked for. By sunset, he was starving inside a palace of gold. Bread became metal between his fingers. Wine hardened before it reached his mouth. Even the people he loved could no longer safely touch him. The gods did not trick Midas with a false promise. They gave him a perfect version of his desire. That was the punishment. But the golden touch was only the beginning of his story. After escaping one curse, Midas would insult another god. And this time, the evidence would grow from his own head. Midas was king of Phrygia. His kingdom lay in the ancient lands of Anatolia. Later tradition remembered him as a ruler of enormous wealth. Historical kings may have carried the name Midas, but myth transformed that royal name into a warning about desire. The story begins with an old satyr named Silenus. Silenus was the companion and teacher of Dionysus. Dionysus was the god of wine, ecstasy, theater, and altered states. His followers moved through mountains and forests in wild celebration. During one journey, Silenus became separated from the group. Some accounts say he had drunk too much wine. Others say he fell asleep in the king's garden. Workers found the old satyr and brought him to Midas. The king recognized him immediately. Instead of treating Silenus as a prisoner, Midas welcomed him. He offered food, shelter, and entertainment. For 10 days and nights, the palace celebrated. Then Midas personally returned Silenus to Dionysus. The god was grateful. He offered the king one wish. Midas did not ask for wisdom. He did not ask for peace. He did not ask for a long and healthy life. He asked that everything he touched become gold. Dionysus understood the danger. In some versions, the god warned him to choose more carefully. Midas insisted. The wish was granted. At first, the power seemed miraculous. Midas touched a branch. Its bark became shining metal. He lifted a stone. It turned into a golden treasure. He brushed his hand across grain. Every stalk glittered. The king moved through his palace laughing. Furniture, doors, and decorations changed beneath his fingers. In moments, he possessed more gold than any ruler could spend. The dream appeared complete. Then Midas became hungry. Servants brought a feast. The king reached for bread. The crust hardened. The soft center became solid gold. He picked up fruit. Its color remained beautiful, but its flesh became metal. He tried to drink wine. The liquid transformed as it touched his lips. Midas could own every meal. He could not eat any of it. His greatest wealth could not keep him alive. Later retellings add an even more painful moment. The king's daughter runs to embrace him. When he touches her, she becomes a golden statue. This scene is not central to the earliest surviving classical accounts, but it became popular because it reveals the emotional cost immediately. The golden touch does not only destroy food, it destroys contact. It turns love into possession. Whether or not the daughter belonged to the ancient version, the meaning fits the curse. Midas could never touch another living person without taking away their life. Gold had isolated him completely. The king finally understood what Dionysus had seen from the beginning. Value depends on need. Gold is precious only because human beings agree that it is. Water and bread become infinitely more valuable when they are gone. So does another person's hand. Midas begged Dionysus for mercy. The pride vanished from his voice. He no longer wanted the power. He wanted ordinary life returned. Dionysus told him to travel to the River Pactolus. Midas must wash in its waters. The king hurried to the river. He entered and placed his hands beneath the current. The golden power flowed out of his body. It entered the sand. Ancient storytellers used this moment to explain why the Pactolus was famous for gold. The river carried rich deposits for centuries. Myth turned geography into the remains of a king's mistake. Midas could eat again. He could touch the world without destroying it. For a time, he rejected wealth. He left the palace and became devoted to the countryside. He honored Pan, the rustic god of shepherds, wilderness, and music. That choice led to the second famous disaster. Pan played music on the reed pipes. He became proud of his skill. Eventually, he challenged Apollo. Apollo was the god of prophecy, order, and the lyre. A musical contest was arranged. The mountain god Molus served as judge. Pan performed first. His pipes produced an earthy melody. It belonged to fields, animals, and wild places. Then Apollo touched the strings of his lyre. The music was controlled, brilliant, and divine. Molus declared Apollo the winner. Everyone accepted the decision. Everyone except Midas. The king preferred Pan's music. He said the judgment was unjust. Apollo did not tolerate the criticism. He declared that ears with such poor judgment should no longer look human. The god transformed Midas's ears into the ears of a donkey. The king had lost the golden touch. Now he carried a visible sign of foolishness. Midas tried to hide the ears beneath a royal cap. Most of the court knew nothing. But a king cannot hide his head from his barber. The barber discovered the secret. Midas ordered him never to speak of it. The man obeyed as long as he could. But the secret grew unbearable. He needed to tell someone. So he walked to an empty field. He dug a hole in the ground. Then he whispered into it. King Midas has donkey's ears. The barber covered the hole and returned home. He believed the secret was buried. Reeds later grew from that place. Whenever the wind moved through them, they whispered the same words. King Midas has donkey's ears. The earth itself revealed what the king wanted hidden. These two stories may appear unrelated. One concerns greed. The other concerns taste and pride. But both expose the same weakness. Midas mistakes his personal desire for universal truth. He believes gold must always be good. He believes the music he prefers must be superior. In both cases, a god gives his judgment a physical form. His love of gold spreads through his hands. His foolish hearing appears in his ears. The inner flaw becomes visible on the body. Midas is not evil. That is one reason his story remains effective. He shows hospitality to Silenus. He earns the gratitude of Dionysus. He is capable of admitting his mistake. He simply does not understand the consequences of getting everything he wants. The myth asks a question that remains dangerous. If one desire could be fulfilled without limit, what would you choose? Wealth sounds safe because it can purchase many other things. But unlimited wealth changes the meaning of everything around it. If every object becomes gold, gold becomes useless. If every relationship becomes ownership, love disappears. If one preference becomes law, judgment becomes vanity. Midas suffers because he removes limits. Limits make ordinary pleasures possible. Hunger makes food meaningful. Mortality gives time value. Difference allows judgment to exist. Touch matters because it connects one living body to another. The golden touch destroys those distinctions. It makes every object identical. It turns a world of texture, taste, and life into one dead material. Modern culture often remembers only the glamorous first half. A successful person is said to have the Midas touch. Everything they touch becomes profitable. The phrase sounds like praise. But the original myth completes the sentence. Everything he touched became gold. Therefore, he could touch nothing he needed. The curse was not gold itself. The curse was the inability to stop producing it. Midas eventually returned to ordinary life. He learned that enough is different from everything. Yet the donkey ears show that one lesson does not erase every form of pride. Human beings can understand one mistake and immediately make another. Wisdom is not a treasure received once. It must be practiced repeatedly. So remember Midas before wishing for limitless success. Remember the bread that could not be eaten. Remember the wine that could not be swallowed. Remember the embrace that became a statue in later tradition. Remember the reeds that refused to protect a king's image. Midas wanted the world to reflect his desires. For a few terrible hours, it did. His palace became more valuable than ever. His life became almost impossible. The richest man in mythology discovered the limit of wealth. It becomes poverty when it replaces everything money was meant to serve.